Hey, party people. This is Jeremy for MVM, and welcome to our very, very first MVM solo top 10. I'm really excited to do this. I'm just happy to be here with friends and share this moment. And hopefully, we have several more of these where the board game community can come together with people I respect, and we can talk about the top 10 board games of 2020 and some more. But I am not the only person here. We have some very highly respected content creators. I have Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire and Dice Tower. Hello.
Hey, it's awesome to be here. Hey, I'm even dressed for this. So the guy from No Time for Games sent me a solo gamer shirt.
Ooh, how about that?
I'm rocking, ready to go.
I have Michael Kelly from One Stop Co-op Shop. Hey, Mike.
Hey, nice to be here, Jeremy.
All right, and then we have the birthday boy, I should say, Michael Kelly, and then we have Mark Dainty from Not Board Gaming. How you doing, sir?
Hi, nice to meet you all.
And thank you so much for staying up late. He's super late at night. It's 12 o'clock there, but it's going to be late by the time it ends. So I really do appreciate that.
Thanks for being back.
So 2020 was a difficult year for people across the world, but it was also a really interesting year for solo gamers because a lot of people got into solo gaming and it became more popular. As a matter of fact, I feel like it ended up working out pretty well for people who are solo gamers as a whole. Releases just came out one after one. Co-op games are there, and you probably had some that had solo modes from last year you didn't even get a chance to play. So a lot of people have really embraced this. It's exciting to have a good year to talk about these games. So hopefully we bring awareness to some of the games that you may have not known about. And of course, there'll be some monster games that are on here. Before we get started, though, I wanted to kind of go through a couple games that I thought were at least worth mentioning because we're going to have a top 10. We want to bring up a couple games that I thought were, like I said, worth mentioning that weren't on my top 10. And I'm just going to rattle off a couple and not necessarily in any order, just kind of some games that I thought were worth mentioning before we get to our top 10 games that are not on there. One of them was Merv's Merchants, The Heart of the Silk Road, which is a game that I really was not into, and then I ended up loving it. It's kind of set in a time where Merv was like this industry capital kind of thing, and then it eventually got raided by Mongols, which was not so fun. But it's played out in this nice little solo mode that I think will make sure it will round off a good purchase there. That was one of them. Under Falling Skies, which was not on my list. I played that back when it was a print name. So I know why people love that game so much. And it is definitely deserving. And Honey Buzz, which is not on my list, is a really, really good solo game. It's a really good puzzle type solo game, real quick. And it's absolutely beautiful to look at. But those are just a couple of games that I thought I would mention. I know Viscounts would have been on my list. Viscounts of the West Kingdom would have been on there if I had not played it. As we haven't played several games. But just to go around real quick, starting with Liz, any honorable mentions that you want to kind of get into before we get started?
Yeah, so this is actually probably serves as a caveat for my whole list. I'm horrible at playing things in the actual year they come out.
Yeah.
This is a real challenge for me to make.
No.
So what's in my honorable mentions are things that I previewed, but I don't have my full copy yet. Mm-hmm. Or stuff that just didn't quite make the list, but I thought was good. So, Alterquest. I haven't got to play it yet. I'm still waiting on my review copy, but I previewed it. It was fabulous, and I really think that if I'd had my full time with it, it probably would have made this list. Yeah. I'm still waiting on By Stealth and Sea. That's where you basically play these Italian frogmen trying to sneak through the water and like torpedo British ships. It's designed by David Thompson. It's from Danvers and Games. It is hilarious because in the first mission, your torpedoes like barely work, and so I previewed it. I played the first couple of missions. I'm waiting for my full copy to come in because I think the campaign's gonna be amazing. And then I really had to dig for things that came out this year. So Black Sonata Fair Youth, fabulous. I like Black Sonata in general, and of course there's another Aeon's End release, and I am always down for those.
Definitely. Mike, what you got?
I'll just throw out a few. Actually, By Stealth and Sea is interesting because I just finished filming my videos for that, but it was before or after I made my list for you, so it probably would have been on my top 10.
Wow!
So I'm with Liz on that. But to throw out three other kind of maybe less known ones, For What Remains is another David Thompson one. That's a skirmish game from Danvers and Games, but it has a good solo mode. The Hunted. That's from GMT. I'm kind of a war game guy sometimes. And this is in their sub-series. They also had, I think, Under the Med, I think it's called this year, which is the Mediterranean one. Yeah. But the Hunted is like the late German war compared to the Hunters, which was the early German war. And then last one, a little game, but pretty fun one, especially for like light gamers and families, is Faza, F-A-Z-A.
Yeah, Faza.
That's a nice little,
Yeah.
Nice little action one there, fighting off aliens, cool art style. Yeah. So there you go. Those are some of my honorable mentions. Didn't quite make the list.
Oh my God, I forgot about that game. Mark, what you got, man? What brought up the rear? What was close?
Yeah, I think Chronicles of Crime 1400 didn't make my top list. It came out a little bit later on in the year, and for me, I just haven't devoted enough time to it. As a solo gamer, it's probably not in its best space as well as a multiplayer. You know, it shines more as a multiplayer game. Solar Storm, which is a cracking little small box game designed by Aidan Lowther, which is almost like Pandemic in space, if you like, on a 3x3 grid. I thought that was particularly good as well, but didn't quite make the list there. And one that just came in at the back end of the year that I'm kind of having fun with, but it's too early to tell just yet, and that's Aliens: Another Glorious Day in the Core as well. Okay. I'm having a lot of fun with that, but there are issues, but I'm having a lot of fun.
No game is perfect, brother. Except for Mage Knight. Except for Mage Knight. Except for Mage. All right. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get into our top 10. We're going to go through these. Some of you have already released your list, but we just wanted to come together and talk about these titles. I don't expect a lot of crossover, though. Not a lot. Although we do like a lot of the same games, I do expect different perspectives and not a ton of crossover because we've had a lot of different experiences. So this should be interesting. I'm going to go ahead and start. My number 10 is Isle of Cats. Isle of Cats came out it shipped right at the beginning of the year. Because I remember we were, I think, Mike, you and I actually had like a kind of a first quarter kind of live stream together and we were talking about this game. But it's a card drafting game that we've had these games recently where card drafting games have kind of proved that we can do this solo. It's a Wonderful World, this one, and I'm trying to think of the other one. Paper Tales. So these are other games that I thought about, and this one here is just great. A combination of polyominoes, and this kind of card drafting system. But the AI was really, really interesting, and it does apply a lot of pressure to you from round to round because you don't know what's going to score or whatnot. You kind of can't figure it out all the time, which can be not good either. All right, because you don't know how they're going to score from round to round. You don't know what's most important from round to round all the time, but I just found this game nice and elegant. It's easy to play, and it's one of those games that rounds out the full package of the game. That's the most important part to me. Like sometimes solo modes are great as this makes it a whole package worth buying because this one has family mode, hard mode, solo mode, and they all work. This is I just thought this was a really interesting design. I appreciate it, and it stuck with me all this time. So. That's Isle of Cats. I know you like that game too, Mike.
Yeah, I think when I looked it up, it said 2019 on BGG. If I had counted it, it would have beaten out at least one or two of the ones on my list. So
Right. Yeah.
I think Isle of Cats is great. Fun for polyominoes, fun for the drafting, and like you said, I play with my 8-year-old, I play with my 5-year-old, and I play solo, play with heavy gamers. It's the hard mode. It's great.
Yeah, I looked. This is why I put it on there. I looked it up. The first post I had about it, because I remember I played right away, was January 5th of 2020. So I figured somewhere around that weekend, I'm more than likely I got it and I played it right away. I figured, why not? I mean, some of these games are so late in 2019. I mean, honestly, do they count? So I figured, hey, why not put it in there? All right, moving on to Liz. What you got? What was their number 10?
Yeah, all right. So this is one that I'm in the process of doing a review for, but I'm enjoying it so far. I do think it might be an acquired taste, and I will tell you why. But it is Target for Tonight. So basically, if you want to get in a plane and go pew pew at other planes in the night during World War II, this is your game. So I like it because I feel like it really generates an exciting story. You have to, is your equipment going to work? Is the weather going to be good? Who's, what kind of firefight am I going to get into? And, so the game has a lot of drama, but it also has a lot of die rolling, and it has a lot of charts that tell you what is going to happen next as a result of your die rolls. So if you are open to trying that experience, then I think it's really fun. It has a very dedicated community on BGG, so there are people to answer your questions, and I'm hoping to make a tutorial for it at some point this year. But it's really enjoyable, but you have to be willing to embrace the charts.
Ooh.
And the
yeah. Yeah. The chart game. Uh-oh.
But there's also one called Target for Today. Target for Tonight adds some night fights. So.
Okay. All right, let me put. Trying to share this at the same time we're talking. Now you guys have really, you and Mike have really gone deep into this war game historical thing. This is the thing now. You are really leaning in. So if you hear this top 10, you're like, what are these games? You have to understand. I brought our team of wonderful, people together because we all have these different perspectives. We kind of separate at certain parts too. So this is good. I love this. So thank you for bringing your lists and different things here. What you got, Mark?
Right. So I'm having technical difficulty with me. So if I have to recall correctly here, I think I put Etherfields at number 10. Is that what's coming up on the screen?
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
All
I will
right.
continue to try and remind my technical difficulties. So Etherfields, for me, big release back end of this year. A lot of people absolutely loving this game, of course. There's a really good game in there somewhere. It's just kind of dragged down a little bit by some of the design choices. We know that the board isn't great, and people have been cutting the board up. There's a bit of grind in there, although not as much as there was in Tainted Grail, of course. But there is a bit of grind in there with the Slumber deck, and there are a few other issues as well. However, once you get into the depths of these dreams, you have some really good experiences in there. The reason it's number 10 and not higher, and I must admit, I've sunk a lot of time into this game. It's about 20 odd hours, which is more than I've sunk into a lot of other games this year, but it's a game that demands your time. The reason it's number 10 and not higher, though, is there's just a few of these little quirks that just kind of hold it by game. I think if Awakened Realms had spent a little bit more time in development and less time on creating more content for it, we could have had a tighter experience there. So that's Etherfields at number 10 for me.
I was so late to the party with this game, and I got really excited about it, did some reading on it, and I did the thing that I usually don't do. I did not read the rule book beforehand. And I usually read rule books. I usually do a ton of research, and I did not.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was a huge turnoff for me. With a lot of the things that the barrier of entry was way too much, and I just don't feel like a game I should have to do all that to enjoy a game. And I just laid it out this weekend, and I was like, I'm going to play this game. I'm going to go all in. I laid it out, started reading the book, and I was so frustrated.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get past it. And I was like, I don't have to fight to do this. I have so many games to play. And maybe down the line they'll 1.5 it. Maybe they'll 1.5 it, and then I'll be in, no question. Because I thought the game was interesting, and I can tell people I trust like it. So they've gotten through the clunkiness, and I did not. So I'm excited about it still.
Good.
Mike.
I have a terrible confession, which is that I still don't have my shipment of Tainted Grail yet. Because I did the all-in-one.
I know.
I'm like behind the times on this. Like I didn't even bother with Etherfields because I was like, well, I don't even got Tainted Grail yet. So, I'll be enjoying like retro games while y'all are ahead of the times.
Yeah, AR has to do. They got to do some shipping. They got some shipping to do.
I've literally just received my shipment of Tainted Grail, which is 14 months after I got a review copy from Awakened Realms when I was at Essen. So they are coming through now, Liz.
Yeah, they're coming through. All right, sir, Mike.
Yes, my number 10 is a Law Czech Games Edition. This is a deck builder mixed with a worker placement game, and it's one that I really enjoyed. The deck building is like nice and impactful, and you like get cards straight into your hand and get to use them the same turn. Really nice combo opportunities. It's a very brisk play, like it's 5 rounds, you're done in like half an hour. I did have some issues with like the AI, how difficult it was and how interactive it was. But I will say this is number 10 based on what I play. I played when I was reviewing it. Since then, already, CGE has released online a free download for a more interactive and more challenging AI, which is really cool. And they also have a solo campaign coming in January. So with all that content, would this be like my number 6, my number 5? Maybe. But with what I saw, with what I played so far, it was number 10. Still a solid game, but I expect those of you playing it in 2021 are going to enjoy it even more than I did in 2020. So yeah, that's Lost Ruins of Arnak for my number 10.
Yeah.
And I think that game, honestly, I don't see a solo gamer just not liking this game. Honestly, it feels like, especially if you're in a deck building at all, like this is a very pleasing game. It's pleasing in the eyes. The aesthetics are great. And since the AI is easy to play, then that makes it more attractive. So I mean, it will be heard of again on this list today. But yeah, we'll leave it there. All right. Moving on to number 9. Let's go ahead and just start back to you for number 9, and I'll finish it off.
Oh man, we're doing like the Settlers of Catan like stuff.
Yeah, we are. We're doing Catan. Right. We're going back. Yeah, we're doing it.
So mine is a game that I actually gave a somewhat harsh review to, but I think the gameplay is great, and that is Planet Apocalypse from Peterson Games. So this is a solo and co-op kind of like tower defense-ish game where demons are invading the Earth and you are like getting troops to lay them out. But you also like have a hero that you're leveling up. And the leveling up in this game is fabulous. One of my favorite systems I've ever seen because the characters have like very unique abilities. But at the same time, you get this draft of common abilities. So you get like these new combos every time you play, but your character also feels unique and different. The combat is fun. Now it's very dice heavy, but it's a lot of fun. The miniatures are great. The big thing that was a negative for me, but I don't want to like kind of attack the design for this. It's just the production. Is that like the core game is like $120, and you get so little actual game content with it. You get like great giant miniatures. That's clearly what they focused on, but you don't get a lot of game content to really have enough. I think for this to be like a varied, fun experience, you're looking at $200 to $300 worth of investment. But if you invest that much, it's great. But yeah, the reason it's lower on the list for me, although I love the design, is that, man, they really went all in for the big miniatures. And at least for me, that's not what makes me come to a game necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what I'm going to spend hundreds of dollars for. Yeah, so that's Planet Apocalypse.
And I'm one of those people that just doesn't feel safe recommending a game that's over $100 and then just be like, go buy it, especially if I have any apprehension about it, like anything. Quality, you know, like there's not a ton of content. I think of Too Many Bones is $125. It has a ton of content in it. Like that's literally the thing I compare it to. Like, am I going to recommend Planet Apocalypse or Too Many Bones? You get so much stuff in Too Many Bones. Planet Apocalypse, you get like one boss. Street Masters, like, really? You know, like there's things that you get a ton of content in, and like you shouldn't have to, you know, kind of, into it a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Dainty.
On the list, I've got over my technical difficulties. I found the list. Okay. And it is a bit of a repeat from Mike's number 10 here. It's my number 9 solo release for 2020, and that is Lost Ruins of Arnak. Technically, going over much of the same ground as what Mike says. Technically, there is nothing wrong with the game at all. It does everything it's meant to do exceptionally well. It just hasn't really grabbed me. And I think the ease of the solo mode, and as Mike said, the CG releasing the new kind of the more difficult mode and the campaign coming, and just a little bit of a special shout out to CG this year for everything they're doing for solo gamers with this. With Sanctum, with Adrenaline solo rules, with Under Falling Skies, just fantastic kind of service to the solo community. I think that Lost Ruins of Arnak will play far better with 2 or more players than it does as a solo game. There is nothing wrong with it as a solo game. If you get it, you're going to have a great time. It just hasn't excited me, that's all.
Yeah. And I totally agree. That's the thing. It's hard to say anything bad about the game. That's the thing. For people who are buying it, like, why is this so low? I'm serious. There's really nothing bad to say about the game except that it could be better, and it's good. It's already good.
When we go through the rest of the list and we see the strength of some of the titles above it, it's
that's
still doing exceptionally well to get in at least 2 people's top 10 lists of releases for 2020.
Definitely. As a matter of fact, you're going to hear about it later on, and I had to put it in my list somewhere. I had to. I just could not go a year without talking about this game. All right, Liz.
So yeah, I haven't even played that. It's got to go on my list. I've been playing Golden Oldies, you know. Like, I bought a copy of B-17 Queen of the Skies this year. Like, all right. So, but my number 9 is actually an expansion. I went with Role Player Fiends and Familiars because I feel like it rounded out a really good game system. And while I don't think it's as good as an expansion as Monsters and Minions was, I think that it still adds things to the game. I think it shows that Role Player had a lot more legs than I think any of us thought it did when it first hit the market. And it's just a really nice addition to an already, I think, solo staple. So, you know, I wasn't going to put it at the top of the list, but I feel like it deserves a mention because it's just part of something that's been part of our lives for a long time now, if you've been playing a lot of solo games.
Yeah, I was going to ask you this. Do you feel like it's not that it's not necessary, but does it feel like it is essential?
No, I think Monsters and Minions is the essential one. I won't play without that one. Fiends and Familiars is like my sometimes food, and when I'm playing Role Player, like.
The Role Player didn't really work for me. I got it, I played it, the base game didn't really work for me. I don't have any kind of Dungeons and Dragons background at all. Okay. Although, bizarrely enough, I did go in on Role Player Adventures as a Kickstarter because that looked intriguing. So, yeah.
I was so on the fence with that game. But when we played it and I saw the potential of what it can do, I decided to go in on it because I see the potential. And I honestly don't know what the longevity of that design is. You know, that's the thing. It's, you know, the kind of system that you're unlocking and the pages with the dice allocation and stuff like that. It just felt good.
Yeah.
And I wonder, can it last? Right.
Also, it was expensive.
It was expensive, but I had to, you know, he's from Wisconsin. He's a nice guy. And I figured I trust it. I just trust his design. I trust this. And this is like, you could tell this was the one for him, you know? So I decided to put faith in a small publisher, you know? So that's kind of where I went with that. I am last up, and mine is Arena the Contest, another super late 2019 January-ish game. And all I can tell you about Arena Contest is it's about as close to D&D on a big board game you're going to get. Like, it's not like super deep in lore, but it's got a good full story. But it plays similar to D&D, even with like adjacency rules and, you know, stabbing from the back, like all that stuff is in there. And if you went all in with this one, I mean, you got a lot to play with. The campaign is, you know, decently long, and the story is not bad at all. As a matter of fact, you can play each one of the scenarios as a single scenario. But I just found like the wealth of characters, they felt just different enough. And there wasn't like this huge learning curve. Yes, it's got a big setup, no question. The leveling up system is not that great. It's like, here's an extra card plus 10, here's an extra card, you know, whatever. But they actually addressed that like big time because they got a huge amount of feedback on that in the new expansion that's coming. But as it is, like, they already addressed the rules. They've already addressed all these different things. So I like where I'm at with this game. And I just had to remind myself, I'm like, I can't keep this game off of a list. I mean, we got it so late last year. I was like, I got to let people know this game is very good. Yeah. And it's because it's easy to play. There's not a huge amount of rules that makes it so fun. You're chucking those dice, triggering these abilities. I mean, there's 4 abilities per character. I mean, the only big no is the character, like I said, the experienced stuff, and probably the miniatures aren't the best, but they addressed that in the new Kickstarter. So a lot of that stuff is being addressed. So I like it. I love the big dragons, all that kind of stuff. Anybody else play that one?
Passed me by completely. Absolutely, totally passed me by. Yeah, this is all you, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. Oh, it's such a good one. You get to fight big dragons, and there's multiple dragons in the game. That's even cool right there. You know?
I'm going to have to check it out now. Yeah. Okay, so that's my kids going without food for a week while I buy that, I think. So.
Yeah.
You need to get your priorities straight. No, they'll be fine.
It's post-Christmas. They've had enough anyway, so.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, that's my number 9. So we are on to number 8. Okay. I'm looking at my list here. I want to make sure I have the right one up. Oh my God, I don't think I have the right one up. Hold on a second. Oh no, my number 8. Hold on a second. My number 8. Lord Jesus. My number 8 was Jaws of the Lion. Oh goodness. Yeah. Jaws of the Lion. Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. This is a really, really fun follow-up to Gloomhaven, kind of in the middle between this and Frosthaven. Although they're not like linear or anything like that. This one is an individual box, and it does need to stand on its own. It is the little brother. It is the training module from Gloomhaven in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it does different things. The small little details, of course. There's some changes to the rules. You got 4 new characters. My favorite character in all of the Gloomhaven universe is Hatchet. I got to get Hatchet. God, I love Hatchet. It's so simple and destructive. But I just like the story of where it went. I didn't even fully finish the story, but I got about halfway through, and I was like, yeah, I'm good on this one, and I'll take the characters and move them on to Gloomhaven because I did like them. I like the Voidwalker too a lot. I like the way the new boards are set up. I almost feel like I wish they had that in Frosthaven so the setup wasn't so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because when I played Frosthaven, I was like, oh my God, all the tiles. But I wish they did this book part again. But yeah, really interesting scenarios, not as long as well, which is really good too. But
Sure.
Jaws of the Lion is something to behold. I think it's a great price point too.
Yeah. I'm going to hold back because it's also my number 8 as well there. So I'll let these other guys talk about it if they got any experience about it.
No, go ahead. Yeah, if it's your number 8,
fine. So yeah, it's my number 8 as well. For all the things that you said, I got Gloomhaven. I played, I don't know, maybe 14, 15 scenarios in Gloomhaven, and then I lost interest in it. Mm-hmm. And I think Jaws of the Lion allowed me to rekindle that spark a little bit. But pretty much like you, Jeremy, I've got just over halfway through it. And I haven't gone back to it for a while now as well, because life and other games, basically. That's the only reason. If unlike people like us who get access and buy quite a few games, if you buy a game every few months, then it's a game that's going to sustain you over that, and you're going to have a great time. And for me, it totally rekindled the love for Gloomhaven for me. I got this newfound appreciation for it, and it absolutely nailed down the rules errors that I've been making in Gloomhaven. Mm-hmm. As a solo player, the rules are all on us. When you're playing with other people, you've got other people to pick you up. And in Gloomhaven, you're playing on your own as a solo player. You've learned it. Chances are, if you're making rules mistake early, it's with you for the game. Yeah. And Jaws of the Lion, for me, it kind of put those training wheels back on and really kind of spoon-fed the rules to me. It's a beautiful system, fantastic. And I'd like to see it kind of incorporated for some other big box games, some other more complex games. Yeah. I think it would open up the market there.
I think, just furthermore to that point, like, I feel like there is a thing in board games like this that, like, sometimes there needs to be a little bit more on rails stuff going on. Yeah. And just because, like, even like I'm thinking about Etherfield's, like, you can introduce a system in a world, but you also kind of may want to do the, like the Jaws of the Lion thing, or like every Zelda game where it's like, hey, look at here. Hey, hold on.
Listen.
I do want to skip, but Lord, teach me the game. This is game. So
as long as it's not annoying like the little Microsoft paperclip that used to come up on Windows 98. Yeah, we don't want that popping up every 2 minutes.
Not the paperclip. Oh my gosh. Because that could be Apple implementation gone bad. Like, hey, before you take your next turn, read card 42. Before you take your next turn. All right. All right, Liz, what you got?
All right, so my number 8 is a much more accessible war game than the last one that's on here. It is the Shores of Tripoli. Is the first release from Fort Circle Games, and it's a nice little 2-player with a solo mode. It's a beautiful production. And basically it's the U.S. Navy versus the Pirates of Tripoli. And so as the United States, you're trying to kind of subdue that area of the world and get somebody who's amenable to you in power, so they'll sign a treaty with you. And then if you are playing for Tripoli, you are trying to destroy American ships and take their gold and make them go away, or at least make them accept the fact that you're just going to take their stuff. It's excellent. Yeah. So it's card-driven play, but you're also moving pieces around on a map. I would say that what I like about it is that it's a war game, but also if you just play games, there's nothing in that that's going to feel super weird to you. So if you kind of want to make the jump Oracle, that's fun, then I think Shores of Tripoli is a good option because I think that the card play is going to feel pretty good to somebody who already is watching something like a top 10 solo on Man vs. Meeple. Like, I'm not worried about that. And it's just really nicely put together. It's thoughtful and it's good fun. I still need to play it a few more times before I'm ready to put out a full review with a score, but it is a good game and I'm really enjoying it so far.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to this game. I've been, oh man, I got Cloud Age on my table right now. And I wanted to put this one. I should have put this one on here first because I know it's good. I know it's good. And Kevin keeps reaching out to me like, dude, you gotta play. I'm a Marine. I'm a U.S. Marine. So really excited to play this. I might actually play it at work during lunchtime just to try to get it in. Yeah,
we won't tell.
Real quiet around the office. Real quiet on the lunchtime. All right, Mike, bring it in the rear with the gear. What you got? Number 8.
That's my number 8. I'm from One Stop Co-op Shop, so we cover a lot of cooperative games that have solo play, or you can play multi-handed. And this is one of those. Atlantis Rising, 2nd edition. Yeah. This is a great co-op game, especially I would say at like the 3 to 4 player count. But it's also a really solid solo. Now, a kind of a worker placement with like dice activation system. You're trying to save up resources to build these modules. Lots of variety in the characters you can control, the modules that the game has, these artifacts you can get, like lots of cool stuff going on there. The only reason it's up at number 8 is true solo. I didn't love out of the base game. Like, it's okay. But the designer, super cool guy. I think he messaged you about this too, right, Jeremy? Mm-hmm. He designed like a new version of the True Solo with some more like mitigation options and like some more kind of interesting choices. That was part of the Monsters expansion they just kickstarted. Yeah, exactly. And that expansion looks bonkers good. So if I have any qualms about Atlantis Rising, I back the expansion. I think that's going to fix them. Yeah. But yeah, this one is a lot of fun solo. And if you'll play it co-op, it's awesome. Like, fully recommend it.
This would have made my list if I had not, if I realized it came out this year. I thought it was 2019.
It's close. It's another close one. It's another super close one.
Yeah, I think it like delivered in January.
Right? We all played it at PAX U. Yeah. All of us. And it had not shipped yet. It was supposed to ship in 2019, and it did not. So I can tell you, without a doubt, in December 9th-ish, it had not shipped to people. so I know that because he was like, it's coming, because I wanted to get that. I wanted to get a copy right there. I was waiting. I beeline there. And honestly, I don't know why this is not on my list. I made a total mistake. This game belongs on the list. It is one of my favorite games. I even wore my action shades, my no game shades for that game, and I lost horribly live twice. I lost twice horribly live. Monstrosities and normal game. I love that game, but you can play a true solo and it's fun. That's the best part about it. You can play a true solo. You can play it multi-handed. There's still interesting choices no matter what. That's why I really like it.
Coming back to Kickstarter shortly as well.
No, it just got off Kickstarter. So it's in the pledge manager for that Monstrosities expansion, which adds so much to the game.
Yeah,
maybe too much. We don't know, but like there's definitely a lot in that game that's coming in that design. So
another game that's passed me by, unfortunately. I need to jump on the bandwagon with this one, I think.
Yeah, man, that's the one, dude. It's one to check out.
I truly regret now that I realize this is 2020 not putting it on this list. It's really quality, really good.
Good.
And that player, man, is dead sexy. Some of the deluxe components in that game are just, oh god.
Woo. I don't even normally care about those things. And I was like, hey.
I don't either. Man. You know what I'm saying? Hot damn. All right. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and wrap around on number 7. We got everybody for number 8, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yep. So number 7. Interesting game that nobody's talking about. I think me and Tom are like the ones that just love this game, and it's Monumental. Monumental is a part war skirmish and then deck builder, but the twist on the deck building part is so freaking cool. You're playing these different civilizations. Some are fantasy-ish, and then other ones are real, like you have your Atlanteans, but then you also have Egypt, these kind of different things, and different warriors from different times. But the cool part is you're building your civilization through time, and time passes along as you play the game. You're building monuments from different periods of time, but ultimately you're adding these cards to your deck, and you'll have them out in a 3x3 grid, and you pull a row and a column, and that's how you activate the cards from a row and a column, and that never gets old. Like, it just does not get old. But the cool part about it is that you also have this kind of like skirmish kind of thing here, this civ thing where you're going out on the board, you and your warriors and stuff are taking over certain spots and gathering resources, and it just has that good feedback. It is an expensive game, but oh my God, are these minis are like through the roof. I mean, through the roof. Oh my God, like. Oh my God. And they're huge. But ultimately the AI is really good. It's really hard. You're going to be playing a card. It's going to take 2 actions on its turn. So you're going to have like double these kind of pressure filled thing, and they get a lot of money. So they put a lot of pressure on you to move around and, get going. You can't hold on too long. And then also the deck moves every round too, so they're forcing you to move through the ages as well, so there's pressure applied similar to what an opponent would do by buying cards, a lot of cards. This game, I never would think that I would like a game like this, but I also realize I do like deck builders, and this one was really innovative because even the cards you buy end up on the top of your deck, so you know what you got coming, just like Lost Ruins of Arnak this year. So it's like, I like that kind of stuff. I can set up my deck. I know what's going to be there. I lay them out, row, column. It's there. Everything's there. And it's not too heavy on conflict if you don't want it to be. Yeah. And there's multiple maps as well that you can create. So yeah, there's just a lot going on, man. But like I said, it's very expensive. I understand people don't want to buy it just for solo, but damn, it's good solo. Yeah. So there you go. Did anybody else play that one? Because Monumental is it's a game that I don't feel like a lot of people talk about, and it's probably because of the price, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds awesome.
The price is monumental as well as
price,
the game.
Yeah, the price is monumental. And honestly, it's not available in stores. It's only available through Kickstarter, which is kind of a Achilles heel for that game. Funforge, I understand it because it's not necessarily a game that would be a good price point for a store. If you got it at a store to turn a profit for the store, it just doesn't seem feasible. So if it's on Kickstarter, which I think it's still in late backing for the newer stuff they had, I would suggest you pick it up now because I don't even think they have it on their website or anything like that. It's just like Kickstarter. That's it. So yeah, it's an interesting game. Just want you to know about that one. Number 7. Liz, what you got? Number 7.
All right, so my number 7 is just a nice, solid, roll and write Super Skill Pinball 4K.
Oh wow, look at that.
It's what, I like roll and writes. This is not my favorite roll and write of all time, but it would definitely be somewhere in that top 5-ish range now that I've played it. Basically it is pinball, but as a roll and write. And you're basically moving your little pinball frenetically around these different boards. Each board has a bunch of different things that it does. Visually it's really loud. You can get multi-ball, you can get all the little bonuses, and the game can drag a little bit, especially if you figure out how to work those dice really well.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change the fact that it's really, really fun. And I like the different boards. It's clearly got a huge expansion potential. It really does meet its theme really nicely. And, if you like pinball and you like roll and writes, there's no reason not to play Super Skill Pinball.
Yeah. I have it in wrapping and haven't played it. And usually I have roll and writes on me at all times. I'm playing them like crazy. I think the only roll and write that stuck out to me this year was called Demeter. And it's a game that most people will not know about. It's from Sorry We Are French. It's a small publisher. It should be coming here soon. But yeah, you might want to check that one. It's called Demeter. But yeah, this is the one I bought, and I still haven't played. I got to get that thing played. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at it right here, so it should probably go in my backpack tonight.
Put it in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Oh, hey, and Cartographer's expansion. Oh my God, that Cartographer's expansion. You know what? That's actually my roll and write of the year because I actually have it at work. I've been playing the heck out of that thing. I got 100. I got 100 sheets for that thing. I
love me some Cartographers. I'm really excited about that one.
Oh man, I feel so the odd one out when everybody's talking about Cartographers, and I just think it's okay. And I know people absolutely love the game. For me, it's just okay. Yeah, I can't say why.
I think you're okay. I think your opinion's okay.
You struggle with GPS.
No. All right.
Burn. Sick burn.
All right, Matt. All right. If you don't know me that well yet, Mike, but I'm gonna jam you up. I do that. It's okay. I'm gonna jam you up, man. That's what I do. It's how I am. You know, all in love, all in fun, baby. All right, Mike, what you got, man?
So my number 7, this is very similar to my number 8. It's another one that's like really there for co-op to an extent, but I love it, and I don't know if it's on many people's look. Can I move to my left a little? And that is Endangered.
Yeah.
Any of y'all play Endangered? So this is a dice placement game. It's got a great theme. It's about conserving and trying to save endangered species. And like you can play saving tigers or saving sea otters in the basic game, and it has like very different mechanics with how you do that. They got a giant panda expansion, and this is one again that like I played more co-op and with my family, and it was awesome. But it's actually really fun to play multi-handed, and like kind of and the dice placement is really fascinating because you kind of have to like work, and you have to like let dice fall off by ignoring actions for a while, so you can like kind of more easily place on them again. Yeah. The one negative about this, again, it's more made for co-op, so multi-handed might feel a little odd because you got to manage. The other negative is I think it's better with more animals. So I went in. This is a lot like Atlantis Rising. I went in with the expansion, but it's gonna have like 1,000 new animals. Like it's crazy how much more replay this is gonna have. Without that, if you only want the base game, like I don't know if you'll play it more than like 10 or 15 times before you might get a little bit samey. But no, I like this is Endangered. Good game.
I would totally agree on this one because it's one of those games. It's not expensive. It's just that like you definitely want to have that panda expansion with it right away, just so you have the variety in animals. And then they came back with more, so now you're good to go. But yeah, I feel like you definitely need to have more with it. But the game is really, really fun. I love saving others. Those sexy little otters. How could you let them go? I mean, like honestly, what happens in that game is pretty dark. I mean, it's called Endangered. I mean, you're lobbying for things that happen and stuff like that, and it's like, then what happens to the otters if you don't save them? So yeah, it's just like
there's some detailed flavor text in there about that. No kidding.
Oh my god. So yeah, it's I think it's a really interesting game. I do recommend this one here. But yeah, it has some small little things to it. Yeah. All right. Is that all of us? Mark, what do you got? 7?
I got number 7. Thin end of the wedge for me, which then evolved into kind of a slightly expensive year because this was my first Vital Lacerda game, and this is On Mars. Which I think is it's a beautiful production of a game. It's a fantastic game. Possibly, out of the Lacerdas I've played, I haven't played Lisboa yet, possibly his most crunchiest and most difficult game to get to grips with solo as well.
Yes.
However, it is beautiful. To a degree in solo. I think the solo doesn't quite work as well as it could do. It just feels like the AI, that the Lacerda bot just goes off and does its own thing, and then you're just kind of chasing points. But I do know there's an expansion coming in 2021, which is kind of more solo focused. Since then I bought Escape Plan, and I bought The Gallerist, and I bought Vinos, which is just beautiful. But yeah, in terms of the 2020 release, I think On Mars, it was a really good kind of gateway Lacerda for me, although kind of starting on the complexity scale.
No, start at the top. Start at the highest crunch of the ball. That's how you do it.
Paul Grogan wrote the rule book, so it makes it an easier pill to swallow, doesn't it? Let's face it.
I did not put this on my list. Vital Lacerda is my favorite designer. I think he's the best designer. But this solo mode is for me. And it was so dicey for me that I just didn't put it on the list because there's other games that are so good solo, and there's a couple little ambiguities in those rules that I was just like, I can't get past this. Yeah. Although I do like playing it solo. It's just that like there's other games that are so much more smoother and accessible, and you don't have to make up things and kind of be like, well, I guess I'll do this or that. Yeah. So it's like I don't know. It's just something about that one. I don't know why. It was so easy for me to not to put it on the list in a sense, even though the game is great. The game is great. So yeah, On Mars. Did you guys, anybody else play that? Mike, you play it or?
No, I had my first Lacerda experience with the Gallerist this year, and I thought the game. I mean, it's very similar to what you all just said for On Mars. I thought the game was beautiful. I thought solo got really repetitive after like 3 or 4 plays. So I was like, I don't need to play this solo anymore.
Yeah. Well, once again,
I have to try it.
Yeah. Once again, that's a really weak opinion because the Gallerist is by far one of the best solo games ever. You know what though? I haven't entertained it in years. You know what? I haven't entertained it in years, but it is one of my favorite games of all time, and it was one of those.
Well, no, Jeremy. Again, I'm not saying anything against the design. If you remember, like the victory conditions are exactly the same every time.
Yes,
they're exactly the same every time.
Exactly. So yeah,
like I need some variety in my life, man.
But time moves on, and I haven't played it in a year or two, and I probably should explore that again because I do hold that game like in the highest regard, and I realize I'm just defending it because, well, I mean, it's my first solo top 10. I'm trying to jockey here a little bit. I mean, let's be honest here. Oh man. So where are we at? We are at number six. So number 6, we've already mentioned it in two people's things, and this Lost Ruins of Arnak. I could not have this game on my list. Yeah. And I was going to put it on the back end. And the reason why I was going to put it on the back end is not because it's not fun, not because it's not exciting. It's because the AI is a little easy.
Yeah.
After several plays, I played it with like level 2, and I was like, I kind of barely beat it. Then I half played a level 3. I remember I played a level 3, and then the next day I played level 4 and I crushed it. And I was like, I got to make sure I'm scoring this right. And then Mike was like, am I scoring this right? He actually contacted me and asked me, was I scoring it right? And
I was like, hey, Jeremy, are you winning?
And then I went and played the level 5, and I obliterated it. I was like, oh my God. But the thing is, it's like, you don't realize it, but like when you even playing this game by yourself, you're having so much fun. It's so pleasing.
Yeah.
Like how you move these decks. You can even win the game by not going up the track. And I saw that and I experienced it, which made me happy because if you go up that research track, it may feel like you can't win the game.
Yeah.
And can win the game without going up that track the whole way. Because the AI will pretty much make it there every time. So you just got to figure out how you're going to score those extra 20 to 30 points. Yeah, you got to make up for it somewhere. And I've done it through cards. I've done it through, killing off the mystic beast or whatever they're unfilled. So that let me know this design is good. And I'm happy that they added content to it, but I can't rate a game for content I got to go get.
Yeah.
I have to rate it for what you're buying in the box. And that's what my job is inform somebody. I won't say, oh yeah, but you got to download the P&P. So that's kind of how it was. There's a game like that tonight that I'm sure people are going to ask me about, and it's Praga Kaput Regni, which is a great game. It's not on this list. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's because I got to go print out a P&P or go to a website to simulate a deck. I can't recommend a game that you're going to buy a box and just play for points.
Yeah,
which is in the box. But you want to play, so you got to download something or go to somebody's website that did a really good job of simulating cards. I can't recommend that kind of stuff. All right, that's just me.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. As a final thing on Arnak is there's no end game turnaround. You can tell fairly early on that you're going to win, basically, and then it just becomes a case of win by. Whereas with some other games where the AI is a little bit more integrated, you think you're winning, you get to the end, the scoring conditions kick in, and you get your butt kicked. And I like that. But it's not quite there in Arnak.
I will say this too. Like when I looked at the cards that they added, they added like 2 levels higher on these cards. The purple cards that they have in this downloadable thing, I highly recommend you get a laminator, print these out right away because they are tough. Like I was looking at this, I'm like, wait, they have missions to complete that are easy. They have, they have these cards that are multi-layered. So yeah, I'm definitely excited where that's going. Yeah. And like I said, it's high because it's that pleasing to play.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. So that was me. Liz, what you got? Number 6.
All right, so I got kind of a quirky one for number 6. I went with Four Against the Great Old Ones. So this is an entry into the Four Against Darkness series, but it's a standalone. You don't need any other experience with the system. But this one is designed by Marco Arnaudo. Y'all might know him as Marco Wargamer or Marco Omnigamer. But actually, he is also like a big enthusiast for like pulp literature, and he has read a ton of H.P. Lovecraft. He knows the mythos very, very well. And so this
what happened to Mark? Mark's gone.
I'm here. I don't know what happened there. There was a whole thing went on. There we go, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay.
So this game is wonderful. It's a fun game. Basically, like you can get stuck in a maze. You can end up in another dimension. You know, you're slowly losing your mind. People die all the time. You know, it's very Lovecraftian in that way. And it's if you want it like a little homebrew RPG that you can just play by yourself, this one is really fun. But the other thing that's cool about it is that it's actually got me going back through and reading Lovecraft again, because it's so true to the material, but also with interpretations of Marco's on it, because he actually knows the literature that well, that it's like a multi-layer enjoyable game. Like you just go to Ganesha Games and download the PDF and print it out. It's like super low maintenance, but with lots of exploration. The one thing I will say about it is that the first couple times you play, you're going to be like, what am I supposed to do? You're not supposed to know. You're supposed to explore and get hit in the face and then try again.
Oh, okay.
So if you're
I'm down with that.
To explore and get slapped a few times, you'll really enjoy it. If you want things to like work perfectly from game one, this might not be your game, because you're supposed to be confused and feel like you're losing your mind. Yeah. But like I have laughed out loud playing this because of some mess I got myself into, and then wondered if I was losing my sanity. So and there are some expansions for this one coming out that Mark's working on right now. So I really enjoyed it. I know that people are like, oh, Lovecraft again, but like this really is, if that makes sense, in ways that are very interesting.
Yeah. Was it Four Against the Great Old Ones, you say it's called?
Yeah.
Is it anything to do with the Four Against the Darkness game as well?
Yes. It's in the same system. Yeah. So yeah, it's a standalone, but it's sold with those games, because Marco and his kids are a big fan of games as a family. So he designed one.
Once again, I just want to let you know, Drive Through RPG, good site. Definitely going to dig into that. I'm trying to think of that. You know what I'm trying to think of? I can't remember the name of. Do you remember that game that's like a Western? That's a solo Western game, and I can't remember what it's called.
It's like the Lone Cowboy or... Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I probably have it written some. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot it, because I want to tell people about it. I'll probably remember. Anyway, but yeah, you definitely want to kind of fumble through that stuff, but you'll go down a well and start printing off stuff and paying for a whole bunch of crap.
Yeah.
You gotta watch it on Drive Through RPG.
I don't know if they
gotta watch it, man.
It sounds like Ganesha Games is the publisher. I'm not sure the venues that they sell it through, but that's who they are.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. Macro Wargame, man. He's the man. He's the man. He's not impressed by much, which is why I love him. He's not impressed by much.
Jigsaw puzzles this year. Like I used to love to do jigsaws, and it'd been a long time. And like he's an extremely avid jigsaw puzzle person, and he's in the Jigsaw Puzzlers group on Facebook. And during quarantine, I like rekindled my affection for puzzles because of Marco. So
sidebar to the sidebar here. Did you get those magic puzzles that were on Kickstarter?
No, I did not.
So they have these magic puzzles that you build the puzzles. There was 3 of them. You can get them at Target now, apparently. You make the puzzles, and there's like some envelopes you get. And in the envelopes, they kind of tell you something that you're supposed to be looking for. And it gives a total different look than what you're looking at. Like, when you look at it in the end, you will like, I did not see this at all. I just put 1,000 pieces together. I had no idea what I was looking at. And the reveal is like boom, like literally, you're just like, I cannot believe we did not see it. But of course, after you do the first one, you're kind of like, what am I looking for? That kind of thing. But really, really interesting. If you want to check that out, still solo.
It's a legacy puzzle game.
It can be. So yeah, just so you know about that. Oh, and the game is called The Drifter. Yes, it is called The Drifter. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that one. They get that the one with the cowboy is called The Drifter. Okay, we are moving on to Mark.
Okay, number 6 for me is Rallyman GT, which is it is a great game. I know it's a reissue of Rallyman, but it's reissued in a fantastic way, and it became soloable. A little bit out of the box, but the main solo to play is the Dr. Worm's AI dashboards, which really make it fantastic. The only reason, I played it a lot when I first got it, and I think I probably played it more the last few months on BGA with Mike and with Will from Hungry Gamer. Yeah. So, we guys chat, Mike, Will and I chat on a daily basis, and sometimes we'll just kind of go on to BGA. But it is a fantastic game. It's relatively straightforward, easy to play, always provides a thrill, and it's nice and scalable as well. You can put varying difficulty of AIs in there, race against a full field, eminently expandable. You make up your own race courses. There is not a great deal wrong with Rallyman GT.
Yeah, that game, oh boy, is it great. It's so great. But I knew that going in, and I did some. That was kind of back when I was starting. It was closer to when I was starting being a content creator. But I knew that game was great, and I'm so glad they have Dirt, because Dirt, unfortunately for Rallyman GT, is so much better. It's just so much better. But like, you know what? That BGA implementation of that game is super sweet. Like, if you want to get a taste of that game and not have to worry about the specifics of rules, it will tell you what you can and can't do. So it's perfect. It is perfect. And they have the right set of cars and all that kind of stuff. But I love that game. By itself, though, if you're playing base, which is why I didn't have it on my list, it's quiet and lonely.
It's time trial.
Almost too lonely. You almost want to have someone at least watching you play the game. It's like a solo game that you would want to have like a fan watch you. I don't know, like maybe you want to come play. It's such a good game, though. It's such a good game. That's the thing. When you add AIs, though, like, it is through the roof good. And if you back Rallyman Dirty, you're interested in that one, like, without a doubt, buy that one. Like, without a doubt. That game is great. But yeah, Mike, you like that one, though. You like.
I mean, dude, that's coming up soon. But first, one that Liz already mentioned. This is my number 6, Super Skill Pinball 4K. And yeah, I'll be quick. Like, literally everything she said, I agree. Like, lots of fun tables. It feels like pinball. It's kind of amazing how they did that with roll and write formula. It's a ton of fun. It's cheap. I think you can just print out the first board to try it out for free. Just print it out and try it. So no reason not to. It's great.
Yeah, I totally agree that I have it in a box. Right.
I agree that it is in my house.
I agree that it is in my house. Right next to my left eye over here. All right. All right, Mike, you're going to start us off with number 5, man.
Well, that'll make it easy, because that's Rallyman. So I'm just retreading here.
Deeper thoughts.
Yeah. So the weird thing about Rallyman, y'all kind of touched on this already. If I just rate it based on the solo out of the box, 10 for this year. If I rate it just on Dr. Worm's, especially his new NPC drivers one, which he did for Dirt, then it's probably number 1. So I just split the difference and I said it's number 5. But this is my favorite racing game right now. Like, and I like racing games. This is my favorite one right now. And yeah, as long as you're willing to do those NPCs for the solo, it is beautiful. And I'm all in for Dirt. I got all that stuff coming. So I love this game.
But a tip, guys, don't play against Mike on BGA, because you're only playing for 2nd and 3rd place, because Mike will storm the course every single time. Now you're gonna get some ringer coming in destroying me on BGA, man. I'm all right. I'm all right.
Settle this, man. I think we need to settle this. I can't remember what cars are available on there, but I know it just depends on the cars. There's some cars in there that are a little tougher to navigate when you get more players. But man, what a game!
So good.
Man, it's so good. So good. All right, Mark, what you got? Number 5.
Number 5 is Tekkenu by Daniel Ticini and David Turchi. Look, I know this is kind of the spiritual successor to Teotihuacan. I absolutely prefer. I like Teotihuacan. I prefer Tekkenu to Teotihuacan. I find it's a little bit easier as a solo player. There's not as much upkeep, if you like, in Tekkenu. It's still there, but there's not as much upkeep. I do like I don't know the way the whole game flows, and the fact that you are forward planning, depending on how that obelisk is turning and what dice are going to become available for you. Once you get to grips with the solo, it's very straightforward to handle. There's a little bit of referencing in the books. I think a better player aid could have been potentially the only thing there. But it's a really solid kind of 90 minutes worth of solo gameplay. If you want a good brain scratcher that's not too hard to get into, but provides a real significant challenge. And it's slightly different, well, quite a different feel to Teotihuacan as well, then definitely go for Tekhenu. I think it's just it's a work of art, really.
I think Tekhenu is great.
That's it. Oh, come on. I'm expecting so much more.
I've never played it. I can't help you, man.
Even when you're not burning me, I feel a burn. Yes.
We'll ship you some aloe after this.
Next time you come here, lube up, man. All right. All right.
Oh my God.
Oh Jesus. All right.
Nothing to do with this.
Ooh, this ain't sponsored, trust me. All right. All right, trust. All right. Liz. All right, Liz. Number 5.
All right, so my number 5 is actually it's another expansion, but it's also a culmination of a fabulous game that is Hostage Negotiator Career.
Yeah.
From Van Ryden. Because Hostage Negotiator is a longtime favorite of mine. It's absolutely amazing. There have been so many cool abductors and just expansions and new, little mechanisms that pop up in the game over the years. And then Hostage Negotiator Career lets you string all of that together into a career. So all my obsessive making sure that I had every single abductor and every single everything then paid off because I had career. I could make a whole career. So I actually think that Final Girl is going to be better in the long run.
No question.
Because Mike and I have had some good plays with Final Girl.
Yes, we have.
But Hostage Negotiator is absolutely phenomenal. And I think the Career is a beautiful cap off to a classic for solo gamers. I think it pushes the game as far as I can imagine it going in really good ways. And I'm so glad to have been watching that full cycle.
Yeah, that game, that was one of those earlier in my gaming coming in a solo game, and I just love to chuck dice and make easy decisions, and that game is one of the kings of it. Good, bad, or ugly, right? Like good rolls, bad rolls, or whatever. I mean, I think it's because the little text that you get for each one of those each one of the what's the name, the criminals in the game, they actually work thematically. You feel a little
they
bit
really do. It's really
they
great.
do. It's that's the thing. You would think that these little flavor texts would not work, but it's also the events that you trigger that kind of give you an idea of what's happening if you don't get certain amount of people out in time, or you feel this thing of if I don't get them out in these next couple rolls, they're going to kill more people, and I got to get, I got to do this. Do I take them in or do I take them out? That kind of feeling. It's interesting how it plays out that way. You don't expect it from that, but Final Girl, Lord.
2021, we'll be back.
2021, it will be back. I can just tell you top 5. At least top 5.
We already know.
I'm just going to go ahead and tell you top 5 for next year, Final Girl. All right? It's crazy how that design it just was oh yeah, this is just better. When I played it, I was oh, this is just better. Right away, I played one game and I was just yeah, this is just better. So awesome. You got a lot to look forward to. My number 5, a game that I had there's 2 games on my list that you're going to be surprised with back to back, but I had no idea, I had no interest in coming into this year. Did not know about them. I knew about this one because I got a prototype from Mr. Rado way back in the day when I very, very, very first started to get into content. And that is Sorcerer City by Druid City Games. I like real-time games because I like things like Fuse, where I can just chuck a whole bunch of dice and kind of go in and scramble it. I like games with intense pressure like that. And I also love tile laying games. Scott Caputo, what I call the godfather of tile laying. This design is great. I mean, it's kind of like a deck tile builder, like a deck builder with tiles in a sense, because you're taking these tiles, you're trying to create these districts. And what they mean by districts are just like these shields, these chevrons that you're trying to line up in specific ways. And you're trying to create scoring combos off of them. But the interesting part is you're going to get prestige points for doing specific things, like kind of being first or second in certain stuff. But the AI, on top of that, you have these monsters that come into your deck in between rounds, and they all have different conditions. One will eat your tiles. One will spread across your tiles. They have so many. There's like 12 different monsters, and they all can be kind of woven into this stuff. And they create this pressure when you buy tiles in your market. The ones you don't buy, you take the rest of that type of tile and you fill it in. And you have a lot of pressure in this game. It's not easy, no matter how you spin it. And there's still that same intense pressure of all these monsters in your deck, more than you would have in multiplayer, that you got to figure out as they come out on the fly. 2 minutes, get all these tiles out. By the third round, you have, 15, 20 tiles, and you got to get them all out. Try to get the point combos going. Try to convert those into points or whatever you need to win some of these cards and stuff like that. And the AI is 2 opponents. With random card setups, and you kind of know possibly what they could be. So you're trying to prepare on how you're going to use your stuff at the end of the round. This game it just blew me away. And to have a lot of these games at the end are like surprises. And this one was just like the first surprise of the year. This was like in February. And I was just like, holy crap, I hope people play this game. I saw it was on sale for $20 a couple weeks back. And I was like, yeah. Pull the trigger. Okay,
I think it's potentially a victim of COVID. The reason it wasn't successful. I went to the last kind of con in the UK, which was AirCon back in March, and people were playing this on loads of tables. And then, of course, COVID kicks in, and that's it. You can see it, at a massively reduced price now. And I think maybe had more people had more chance to play it in a group and then get to appreciate the solo, it could have done better. It's a shame. I've seen it, and maybe a game I will pick up at some point.
Let me see. Sorry, I'm getting. But I'll tell you this though. I just played it again this weekend because I was taking pictures, and I just confirmed. I was like, man, a lot of people who are solo players should own this game. They would just love it. Like they will. I think the best part about this game is that market part. When you know that you have all this stuff stacking up, and you actually get choices as to what monster tiles you're going to put with what, as long as the colors match, and you know you can't flood the market with these things. You lose the game. But the added pressure of having more of those tiles that you either buy or bury creates this thing of like, oh my gosh, this is an on-the-fly challenge of how I'm going to get these tiles out. And I just love that. I love that kind of stuff. It's a challenge each round. And by the 5th round, you got a ridiculous amount of tiles, and the timer's going down. By the way, the app that they have for this is so pressure driven. It's got this epic music that goes on, and it's like, oh my God, don't stop. Yeah, epic stuff. Just check that game out, man. I was really surprised by it. Now, number 5, Liz.
Are we on number 4 now?
We are on number 5.
No, she already did her number 5. I think we all did number 5.
Oh, you did your number 5. We are on number 5. Oh, so I am on number 4 now. All right, we'll wrap around.
Right.
So another big surprise. I'm going to tell you a story about Sorcerer City. I'm not Sorcerer City, but Title Blades. Title Blades.
Okay.
So Title Blades was a game that I was not interested in at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, if you asked the publisher, he knew that I wasn't interested in it at all. Partially because I was worried about this solo mode. And I felt like it was just thrown in there. And I remember even reading or seeing something, and it just made it sound like, hey, solo modes are hard. I don't know if we're going to really do this. It's going to be pretty cool. But I had heard a lot about the design journey of this game, and it seemed like it still needed a lot of work when I heard it from the MVM team about how far it had come or whatever. And I was just worried. And James contacted me. He said, dude, you have to play this game. We are so happy about this solo mode. I want you to play this. You have to play this. I was like, he's like, I put my reputation on this. I said, man, whatever, dude. Come on, man. It's not that good. I played the multiplayer with Jeremy for the first time at the Gen Con stream that we had. And I was like, this game's really good. I mean, it's dead sexy. It's Druid Games, Skybound. But and then when I finally, got my copy, I was blown away. That solo mode is fantastic. It's really well developed. What you're doing in this game is it's a worker placement game. You're trying to perform at these different places. And the AI has one more piece to play than you do. And what you're doing is just trying to collect these resources, and you're upgrading your dice. You're risking your dice to complete little quests, and then you're also taking out monsters which kill your dice. There's a lot of pressure there. But the interesting part about this is and this is one thing that I find that reviewers are not mentioning a ton about, is when you're playing this AI, you actually get to control other characters with you. And if you kind of work together to skip each other in the champion mode or whatever, you get to take more turns and make your rounds super long so you can catch up. And you can go through kind of a mini story with their deck as you unlock abilities. There's a really cool mechanic when you complete these quest cards and you put them under, that gives you more strength to fight the bigger monsters that are coming through. This is just a tight game. You got I think 16 decisions the entire game. I think even less. And it's going to put a lot of, it's a real thinky game. I can't stand saying that, but sometimes you run out of those. You got to use the reviewer words. It's a thinky game.
Thinky. Is it also elegant?
Grindy.
Yeah, it's
grindy, basically.
It's I don't know, toit. But yeah, I really want people to know that that was, it was such a surprise. And it was such a surprise because I just had no interest. I was like, man, this looks like fluff. I don't know. And I'm so glad I played it. I'm trying to find a deluxe edition right now because I wanted to keep it in my collection. I have to keep this game, but I want the biggest and the best. The minis are insane, guys. I'm sorry. The minis are insane. The one thing I will say about it though is that there's no real hard mode. If you get good at it, I'm not necessarily sure that it's going to stick forever.
Yeah.
Know that. But I also just like the challenge of having these different decks and the different stories that the decks tell. There's actually just like Hostag Negotiator, there's kind of a journey in their abilities in a sense. So you get an idea of that's mini story within their deck. But this game apparently has a long game because this is the book one of it. So I don't know what it's going to become. It may be even a different game that has more story or something going for it. Who knows? But I'm there because I want everything this game has to offer. Cool. So yeah. Anybody else get a whiff of that game?
No. And again, I've seen it around a lot of people's lists and a lot of people talking about it. It's kind of a heavy investment to go into at the moment, I think, to get there. It's well over £100 in the UK. Mm-hmm. So I think at some point, maybe I'll kind of invest in a copy. It feels like it could be my kind of game, but just not for me to kind of flash out £100 at this stage.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, that big box is fairly expensive.
Yeah.
But I'm a 42-year-old and I'm spoiled. I spoil myself. So, every day feels like Christmas sometimes. I eat peanut butter sandwiches, for a little while. Yeah. All right. So, anyways, Liz.
All right. So, my number 4 is. Oh. So, my number 4 is a little bit of a cheat in the sense that this is a second edition. But whatever. What happens at my solo table stays there. No, it's the reprint of Obsession.
Okay.
So Obsession, Pride, Intrigue, Prejudice in Victorian England. This game is amazing. And I really particularly feel affection for this game, partially because it lets out my inner Maggie Smith. And if you just binged Bridgerton on Christmas Day, or if you like things like Downton Abbey, or if you just want to let's have an event on the Bowling Green and try to court Fairchild heirs, it's ridiculous. It's so fun. And it's also Dan Halligan, the designer's passion project. So this is a game that instead of going on to design another game after he put out Obsession, which was good the first time around, he went back and fixed it. He made the upstairs downstairs expansion, and he tweaked the solo mode, and he took feedback from people who'd played his game, and he redid a lot of stuff. Yeah. And I just really respect that sustained love for a game over time. And it shows in the game. The game is good, and it's a little bit unusual. It's got sort of it's got kind of a worker placement-y feel in the sense that you're trying to deploy various staff members in your household to various parts of your estate that you're building up, and you host events. But you also have these cards where, you're choosing, what guest should I invite? Will I invite the trashy American heiress who has a lot of money? Or will I invite the stodgy old lady? Or, you have to be able to staff everything. You have to build it up. And it's just so fun, especially if you're willing to buy into the theme. Like, if you see a BBC period piece and you want to die inside, do not buy Obsession. But you like that sort of thing. Or if you were like me, middle school Liz had like a big Brontes and Jane Austen readathon. If that's you, get this game.
Yeah. Oh my God. I really have a high amount of interest in this game. I have everything. The publisher sent me everything, and it is actually on my list for January to play. So I got to get that game played because I'm really excited about that one. And man, that designer, the designer is very interactive. Small publisher, came back for more, responded to a lot of feedback. I'm really excited to cover that game. Very, very excited to play and cover.
I don't know if there's a tabletop simulator version of this game, but if we could somehow have a tea party or something and play.
Yes.
We have them all the time over here. It's like you wake up, you have a tea party, you go to the bowling green. It's just business as usual over here. You cut the crust off our sandwiches, darling. Yes.
Do you also have courtships? And a season at a time.
Courting. It's the early stages of dating, yes.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
But yes, if all of that appeals to you, Obsession will appeal to you. It is so fun.
Oh my gosh, dude. This is so fun. I'm so glad I have my friends here, man. This is fun. It's so fun. All right. Mark.
Number 4 for me is a game that I said when I reviewed it a few weeks ago that I think every solo gamer should have, and that is Under Falling Skies. For the price point, for the amount of getting there, even if it was just the base game, you'd still be getting your money's worth. But the fact that CG went over and above, and they put the campaign in there, great kind of thickness to the boards, easy to play, almost infinitely variable as well. Set it up, play it, tear it down within about 15 minutes. Thomas Ullier, who designed it, I know it was a PMP first. It's just a totally essential game for all solo board gamers, I think. I can't say enough good things about Under Falling Skies.
Yeah, I totally agree, but I should not reduce the fact that it does have a campaign, which I did not see the long game of. So yeah. I do have to dig into that to give it its just due, which could probably, like I said, put it back, put it on this list. But I just that's where I was with this design. But yeah, people love it, and they should. Because it's and by the way, the production is really high quality for the
off the charts for such a cheap game.
Off the charts, absolutely. Man. Off the charts. So yeah, any other thoughts on that one, Mike?
I'll talk about it soon.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, go ahead, Mike.
But first, this game, I think it's on nobody else's list. In fact, it's one of those like little cheats for 2019. Like it's kind of end of 2019 and 2020. It might be on your list, Jeremy. I don't think anybody else has even played this besides you and me. Like I think you and I have played this game, and that might be it. And and this is Mutants, which is from Lucky Duck Games. Oh, you have? All right.
No, she played it too. She did a review on that one too.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
so here's the funny thing with this game, because I reviewed this back in like January, February, of this year.
Yeah.
And I sent my list to you, Jeremy, and to Kira, and then I hadn't played it in like 6 months, you know. So I started sweating. I was like, oh man, is this really a good game? Is this? Oh god, is this worth talking about? So I went and played it 3 days ago, and I was like, hell yeah, this game is good. This game is great. So Mutants is a competitive like deck builder, kind of deck builder, and like kind of like area control-ish. Like I don't even know what it's a very unique thing, you know. It like doesn't really compare to anything else. So for competitive, you draft like cards in this deck to build combos. In solo, you do like a constructed thing, or you can do pre-constructed, and there's like so many different things to try out. This game is awesome. Like I was really happy to play it again. I was like, man, this game is fantastic. The one caveat to that is you got to get, there's 2 expansions. One of them has 1 solo boss, and the other one has 2. Yeah. Get at least the 2 boss solo expansion, because it also, it doubles the possibilities of the deck construction. Yes. So you're not only doubling the number of bosses you got, but you're doubling, and they're cheap. Like I think the expansions like $13 each or something. So Mutants way better than I thought it would be. A little blast from the past, 2019 into 2020. I love that game.
But you know, the thing about that is that for $60 you can get everything in a sense.
Exactly.
Like if you play the full board game price, you actually could get the whole thing. If you don't, you will have a very empty box.
Yeah. Had a really hard time beating Jack Ice.
Oh my god, Jack Ice is harder than he should be.
Yeah, that box is so barren when you get it. Like, I don't know if you played Unfair, but the board game, it's the same idea. It's like, boy, there's a lot of opportunity in this box.
And they even have a thing. They're like, "Hey, this is where you put this expansion. And this is where we fit in this expansion." So it's great. Once you have everything, it all fits in there. So pretty, so nice. But yeah, until you get that stuff, you're like, "Stop telling me what I don't have." You know?
Thank you so much for all this room. I could put 10 other card games in there.
Yeah, I could put all these guys in there.
Yeah, but it's absolutely an awesome game. That little push down kind of like push out system and the timing of that it didn't get old with me at all. So yeah, that definitely is an interesting game. Liz, you have some thoughts on that one too. I know you reviewed it.
For Mutants?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not have the expansions, so my experience was a bit different. So I liked it. I gave it like an 8. It's a quality game. It's very, very good. But I had the experience of playing it with just the base box, and it was not as good. You got to get the expansions. You have to get the expansions because it's got so much potential. Are there going to be more releases for this game? Because really there should be. This is one of those games that really ought to get sustained attention because it's so charming. Yeah. And I feel like I haven't heard anything about shame. Because it's one of those things that should have a bunch of releases over years because it's good enough for that.
Yeah, you're going to notice that kind of trend. And we're with 2020, there's just such a breakup of gaming, even for solo gamers. There's just like people couldn't afford anything, and then there was no convention, so you have less information, less buzz. I mean, and people going to digital. Some of the content, like us, we were going to digital when we didn't have to. So that's not always the most informative for a lot of people. Yeah. People weren't ready for that. This is year 0 of that in a sense, right? So like card games over Kickstarter, big box games, probably not going to get a lot of love unless we So I totally get it. But man, that game totally underrated. Very fun. Totally underrated. What do we got here? We got is that all 4 of our?
Yep.
That was 4s?
All right, Mike, you got the final 3.
Mike, you going 3? All right. Dude?
We'll do a lucky duck 1-2 punch.
Whoa.
This one is coming in late in the year, but Kingdom Rush is some fire, man. If you like tower defense, if you like polyominoes in some Frankenstein's monster, how did they get this to work? Like when I heard what? I'm doing tower defense and I'm putting little tiles on monster cards to cover them up. I didn't think it would work, but man, this game is it's fun co-op. I think it might be better solo because it is such a puzzle. You have to pick which colors of towers you can use each turn, so it's really tough for that. And then to level up your towers, you have to not use them. So you got to have weak defenses one turn to boost yourself up the next turn. The polyomino puzzle, the variety in the scenarios, they got an endless play mode if you just want to try to have some survival stuff. I haven't even played the expansions yet, just the core game. And I looked, I would have sworn to God to you that this game was a $70 or $80 MSRP. I saw it on Miniature Market for $39 right now for the core game. I'm like, are you kidding me? That you get that much stuff? So this is an awesome game. High recommend. Kingdom Rush for solo or co-op, so good.
Yeah, I totally agree. That game is awesome. I need to play the final copy though. What I played in the prototype, I was really impressed, and I don't even like Kingdom Rush. So
But
I
I know,
was like,
like the app lost its
yeah, like I don't
real
like
quick,
the
but the
app,
board
like,
game,
whatever.
I'm in.
But,
I'm not that good at twitching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this one here, I was like, yeah, I'm digging this. I was totally digging it. So, anybody else, you guys play it at all, or?
No,
Yeah.
I've seen Mike and Will talk about it a lot with a lot of love, and I felt like one of the I wasn't in the as Mike and Will constantly, almost on a daily basis, just told me how great Kingdom Rush was. So it's one I will pick up. It just kept driving the nail in just a little bit further each and every day. Yeah? So it's probably one I will pick up at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's a pretty slick game, and it's beautiful. There's a ton of content, man. If you
it's funny that they're both from Lucky Duck, because Mutants is like this empty box, but once you get the expansions, it's all full. Kingdom Rush, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to like put all the stuff back in there. Like, where am I going to put these cards? Where are these things going to go? Like, it's a ton of stuff.
Right. It's a lot. We have Liz. What you got? No, sorry, I don't want to skip everybody. We're going to go kind of in a circle here. Mark, what you got?
My number 3 is it's the Saddler's latest game, and it is Alterquest. Obviously, it came through kind of back end of this year. It only got usurped for me in terms of how much time I wanted to put into it by the game that's at my number 1, and which I got at more or less the same time. However, Alterquest is almost the pinnacle of what the Sattlers can do with the MDS system. You've got this static map. You've got the almost quintessential dungeon crawler thing happening. You open a door, you reveal bad guys, you fight them, you get a treasure, you move to the next room. It's pure arcade fun. Lots of moving parts, so initially it can feel a little bit fiddly for people, and I think if we go right back to the beginning of the conversation that we had, this is definitely a game that could potentially do with some kind of walkthrough for people, almost step by step. Here's going to take you through a scenario, or the first couple of moves of a scenario, but it's big, it's sprawling, it's got a ridiculous amount of minis. The quality is up there. A lot of game for your money. And if you do enjoy this kind of arcade dungeon crawling, and you enjoy kind of the play with the cards from the MDS, I think, as I say, it's kind of up there as the pinnacle of what the Saddlers have done so far. I'd like to see them do something else next.
Yeah.
I know we got Hour of Need coming. I'd like to see them do something else next. But yeah, absolutely great game.
I'm going to be honest with you. I love the MDS system, but I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm ready. As a matter of fact, when Alterquest came, I made a choice to go, I think I want to move on. Okay. And I ended up late. This is what happened here. I ended up late backing it, got it, and then got hot on Etherfields. Now I have neither. This is the tale of a bad backer. Okay,
they got your money. They don't care.
2020 mistakes were made.
So I'm looking for an Hour of Need. I like the MDS system. I do think it's time for something fresh, but I'm ready for Hour of Need specifically because I've seen Brady Sadler talking about how he feels that it's his best work. I really want to see what that looks like. Sentinels of the Multiverse is one of my all-time favorites, and I also really like Marvel Champions. So what I was thinking is that it'll be very interesting to be able to put those 3 superhero games together and kind of have them battle it out for like what is my favorite superhero board game. Can one all, and then I'll be ready to move on.
Well, like in all honesty, what kind of excites me the most about Hour of Need compared to like Alterquest and Street Masters is that it has like 15 expansions fewer than Alterquest and Street Masters. And I don't know about you all, but sometimes I'm just like, I just look at a game and like when it has that many boxes and that much stuff, I just get stressed out and I don't want to play it.
Right.
Hour of Need, I feel like it's going to be like, 1 or 2 boxes, bam, 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 let's go. Like I'll be ready to jump in. I don't know.
There's something to say about that, man. Like we have a lot of designs now that are so big. Even like Kingdom Rush, you can stack it up and it's 3 feet high. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, thank you for the content, and I'm sure it's tested well and it's played well. But you are seeing some games that aren't tested well when you get to these more of the expansions, and you're also thinking to yourself, even though you had all the time in the world because some people were unemployed in 2020, they still didn't play all the content. So then that comes back to like, once I get money in my pocket, am I gonna do that again? Am I gonna spend another $300 and go all in just to look at it on my shelf?
Caveat emptor, definitely.
I'm looking at you, Reich Busters. I'm looking at you.
Wait, you gotta wait for 1.5 or 2.0.
There's
that, right?
Oh man, I'm waiting, baby. I'm waiting. There's a good game in there somewhere. All right. Anyway, there's a good game in there somewhere. We just got to get past those rules, man. We'll get there. I believe in you. So, Liz, what you got?
All right, I fully expect that this has got to be on another list of mine. But my number 3, let's go cheap, let's go affordable, let's go small box, but expandable. Warp's Edge.
Okay.
It's a fantastic solo bag builder for me. It totally knocked Coffee Roaster off of the charts. Warp's Edge is now my go-to solo bag builder. Basically, you are a ship in space fighting a bunch of enemies, and you warp like you're in a time loop. You have a certain number of time loops to beat the boss, build up your bag, get some special abilities. Pew pew in space. It's amazing. It's so streamlined. It's so enjoyable. It's really, there's just nothing wrong with the game. It's got so many possibilities for expansion. It's just a beautiful, clean bag builder. I really think that everybody who wants to play solo should at least try this. And you can, because the highest price I've seen it for in the wild is like $35.
Yeah, I was going to say that's about right. Now, I'm going to be a one-upper. And I'm going to do this and say my number 3 is Warp's Edge as well.
See, I knew I couldn't be the only one who put this somewhere.
All right. Mine is better than you. I hate to be a one-upper. Warp's Edge is probably perfect in a sense, right? It just, for what it's doing, it does everything right. You get to build your ship up as you go along. The powers work. I don't even know what kind of random it is, but it just works. Everything works. It just feels like whatever you're building is going to happen, right? Like close to what you want it to happen, and you're just trying to think it out. And there's not like there's a ton of, that's the thing. There's not like there's a ton of different types of ships or anything like that, but it just feels like a good exercise of gaming, and that the bosses that they come up with are really fun. Like they get harder and harder, and they give you enough ships to kind of mix and match and see how can I challenge myself with no shields, very shields, or if I have a big one that doesn't have the best power-ups, how can I get a little bit more tricky with it? Make some really good decisions every time you play. It is hard to kick Coffee Roaster to the curb. And this one did it with like volcanic force. It's that good, guys. Like it is that good. Like it really is that good. And even if you didn't like Coffee Roaster and you're like, this didn't compare to it, it's not that it's just because it's a bag builder. It's a solo game. They're totally different.
Yeah.
You're not trying to do the same thing. But man, just the power-ups, the different type of power-ups, the different kind of ships, and the ultimate payoff of fighting the bosses. I mean, one even transforms. You fight 2 forms of it. It's really
it's so cool. It's so cool.
Like, Scott, you got to get back on your game and get more expansions for this. We're ready. Like, we are so ready. Like, this is it. And that's one of the best games easily of 2020. Have you played that one, Mark, at all? Or?
I haven't, no. And again, I feel I'm missing out. I think if I had £1, time somebody's asked me whether I played Warp's Edge, I'd probably have enough to buy about 4 copies of it. So it's something I definitely need to pick up. I hear nothing but great things about it, and I feel like I'm letting the side down right now. So I apologise for my lack of my lack of commitment in not playing Warp's Edge. I promise you, and I might lose it. It's gonna be purchased very shortly for me.
Do not apologize. My list of games is basically all of the 2020 games I played in 2020, and I got scared I was gonna run out.
Oh my god. No, that one is super slick. All right, so I want to move on to number 2. And number 2 is, man, it was so hard for me. Not like these 2 games that I'm about to talk about are like, they were hard to not be number 1 games of the year because at different points of the year they were number 1 for me. Mm-hmm. And the first one is Tekkenu. Like,
okay,
Tekkenu is.
It's okay.
It's such a. Oh, jeez.
Hey,
Kira, can you cut this guy's mic? Can you cut mic number 3, please? We have a different template for people like you. Thanks, Kira. We have ways for people like you. But anyway, this game, wow, what a smart design. And it gives you the same feeling. 16 decisions. You know the AI is better at it than you. This game does not work at 2 players, but for some reason the solo does. I don't know. Like it's something about that. It's just not. I mean, Rado talked about it, and he just does not like the 2-player, and I agree with him. This is a 1, 3, and 4 player game in a sense, and the 1 just shines because you're still getting that same crunchy decision every time. Man, I mean, like if you're looking for go-to Euro, this is right there at the top.
Yeah.
And I would even say Praga belongs here, Praga Kaput Regni. But like I said, you got to download some stuff to get it, because this would be right here. Like this would be in this spot, like the toss-in between 2 and 3 to do so. But yeah, this one is it's just a great game. It is a great game all around. I don't even know if they can expand it, but man, yeah, it's just a great game. It stuck with me. You know, still better than
for a Euro game. It carries a surprising amount of theme within it as well. You know, you feel the era or the eras that you're going through while you're playing it, which is really good for a Euro game. Yeah.
And it doesn't, one thing I would say about the design as a whole, you don't feel like there's one particular strategy to win. The cards that do come out in that game make you feel powerful. Everything is rewarding, but your choices are still very, very important. Each die you draft, sometimes you're like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and get, these resources and run that engine. But wait, that's one of my turns.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest part. And then the AI scores off of like your actions sometimes. Like they kind of cross that track. And you're like, man, if I keep making these decisions, they're going to keep scoring. So there's always different pressure in there. And that's what I like. It feels different every time. And that's what you really want when you play. You don't want to say, hey, like I'll just chase this track, get these 2 cards, and then I know I'm going to win. The cards make you feel different every time. But that's Tekhenu. Moving on. Liz.
All right, my number 2. So I don't think anybody else had this on the list, but my number 2 is a very light solo war game called Stiliko, Last of the Romans. I love it. Actually, I had it. I cleaned it up to like move it out of the way for my computer for this. It's by Robert Dulesky. It is published by Hollandspiel. So right now you cannot buy it because they're reprinting the cards. Check it back in January, but you have to get it from the Hollandspiel site. The game is not traditionally beautiful. It's got a wrinkly paper map and some cheap cardboard tokens. It does not
components only a designer could love.
But it's so fun. So basically, you are Stiliko. Stiliko's this like very talented general, but in history, he didn't make it past turn 3 of this game. He got executed. So you are trying to ward off the enemies of Rome, and you have just a hand of cards. And you draw cards, and you draw a decreasing number of cards throughout the battle season. You have increasingly tight resources, and you have to choose: am I going to play this card for an event? Am I going to play it for battle? Am I going to rearrange my forces? Do I want to just kind of like prevent a surge from happening, but that's going to cost me a card? And you have to basically decide how you're going to spend these cards. Meanwhile, at home, just dripping poison about you in the Emperor's ear, trying to get your head cut off, and you have to deal with him too. So if you mess up, he comes after you. If you don't, spend some cards on de-escalating that situation, you die. And so there's so much tension and fun, and it's a war game. But honestly, this is so, as a game mechanically, it's not going to feel that different from any other board game, to be really honest. Like, if you have looked at cards and thought, oh, what do I want to use this card for? It's a multi-use card. You can play Stiliko. And I actually did a tutorial of it a couple weeks ago. So if you want to try it when it comes back to their online store, hopefully next month, do it. I love Stiliko. It's very fun. Robert Dulesky's previous game that's the same system is called Wars of Marcus Aurelius, which I also like quite a bit. But I think Stiliko is a little tighter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned Donning the Purple in the chat. Happen to love that game, Solo. Oh gosh. Oh, you know what? Fix your
Nugas Garis. You're talking trash. That's
Donning the Purple's okay, Solo. It's fine, but you can tell that it's a game that's going to play better with more, really.
Of course it's going to play better with more.
I didn't like the Solo for that at all. I think man, I think that's a 3-player game or nothing for me.
Yeah.
I found the Solo very dull.
Okay. All right. Fight me, bro.
Sorry.
Come at me.
Fight me, bro. I like it. All right.
Solo's the blade in a failed Imperial assassination.
There you go.
Not good.
I know. There you go. Touche. All right. All right. Oh gosh. All right. Mark, you got your number 2, man.
I've got my number 2, and it's the only expansion on the list, and it's not Splice and Dice, because as much as I wanted to put Splice and Dice on here for Too Many Bones, it is almost Too Many Bones is almost a complete solo game anyway. It is my number 1 solo game I played in 2020. But in terms of an expansion that absolutely made a game that probably wasn't solo build before and now is, we're talking Root and the Clockwork expansion. I got this, and then I went all in, and I just ended up buying everything for Root. I just love everything about it. It's from the component quality to the asymmetry of all the factions that you're playing. The fact that these Clockwork opponents are so good, and I believe they were originally fan designed, weren't they? And then Leader Games kind of incorporated them. I'd like to see more for some of the other factions. I think there's so much life in Root as a solo game, and it plays better. The Clockwork expansion plays better than the AI does on the app, I think, as well.
Oh, I definitely don't agree with you on that.
Okay.
I really feel like this app makes it
fantastic.
really difficult to put this back on my table. Like,
Really?
oh, it's so good. Oh my gosh, the app is so good. I was addicted to it for a while. I was completely addicted to that. And the music on the app is great. I mean, you're just kind of like, I love that. I just listen to the music for like 30 seconds every time I play. But yeah, if you really want to get a taste, by the way, I'm not saying like apps replace this game. This game is great. It's a great card game, and that's what I love. I love good card games. I'm really addicted to that, and that's what this game is. Good card game, good skirmish game, and that Clockwork expansion is what brought me finally to the game, and now I have everything that Root has to offer. App is a good training for what the game is, and it actually helps you understand how each faction works. That way you can get an idea. It really puts the training wheels on in a proper way. And then you really can unlock what you want to from there. I sort of agree with you here. The challenge and the kind of play, you do want to play it out on the board. But yeah, it's a really good way to get started and see if it's really for you. It's on sale too, I think. The app's on sale. Mike, I know you played this one too.
Man, yeah. So the thing is, like,
Your relationship with this game. Your relationship.
I don't usually include expansions in any of my top of lists, or like or re-releases or that kind of thing. And the other thing with Root is I was playing these Clockwork things back in like 2019 when with the fan versions, and
he knew it was cool.
I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to say that. What I'm trying to say is if I had included Root on my list, like here's my actual number 1 on my list, and here's like Root, up there a little bit. Like, oh my God, Root would have destroyed my entire list if I had included it. I love this game.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't want to play the app because I'm one of those weirdos. I also like the coin games from GMT. I like running AIs. Yeah. I like going through the flowcharts and seeing what happens. Like that actually makes me excited. Yeah. But no, Root is like one of my favorite games of all time, man. That's like top 3 right there. So heck yes, I'm with you, Mark. But my actual number 2 has been mentioned before. Under Falling Skies. Holy crud. What a great little game. I never had the PnP experience with Jeremy, so I didn't have the feeling that maybe it's too simple and then have to CV campaign get added on. But yeah, just the core simplicity, because Mark already said a lot of good stuff here. The core simplicity of I'm going to put 5 dice down, but I can only put 1 per column. Yeah. And whichever number I put there, that's how much these ships are going to come down to kill me. That little basic mechanic is so dang smart. It's so smart because you can do huge stuff let me get that 6 on there, but then the ship is going to be at your door ready to blast you. And oh man, I just love this game. It is great. Yep. Not as good as Root, not as good as my number 1, almost as good as my number 1. That was a so close little knife's edge there, but Under Falling Skies is fantastic. And yeah, like everyone said, great value. What a lot of game in a tiny box.
What a lot of game in a How much did you play through the campaign stuff?
Oh, I did the whole thing, man. I did the whole thing. And then I did some one-offs just to do some mix and match. And I don't want to spoil anything, but the mission, I mean, the things in the thing are so damn cool.
Whoa, there you go.
Oh no, you're giving it all away.
Spoilers, bro. Spoilers, bro.
Well, no, I mean, just honestly, I really am surprised at just like flipping a few things and switching out a few things. It feels really different, you know, and I didn't need it to. Like, the base game is such a great little dice placement puzzle, and I love those. That's good enough. But then they add all these little like modules, and it's good, man. It's real good.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely, man. So you know what? You're up first, sir. You're number 1.
All right, so somebody already talked about this. Kind of stole my thunder. But yeah, Warp's Edge.
Spoilers, man.
Kira said, wait, I think it's too late.
You said things, man. You said things, dude.
I said it.
They said things are in the game.
But yeah, so this game, I hate. Wait.
Yeah, I think we've all done 2.
Yeah, we all did our 2, Kira. So we're getting messages from the.
We're getting messages from on high.
Yeah, on high, exactly.
You all did number 2, right? Yeah, we're on number 1.
Yeah, so this is my number 1, and this is I've only done this like 3 times in all my like reviewing of games in like the last like 3 years or whatever. I gave this all pros, and I hate that. I hate
look at
when I give a game all pros. I'm like, come on, man, because I'm a designer, and I'm like,
gosh, Mike, you're a designer. This is a disgrace. What are you doing?
Perfect for everyone. Oh. But yeah, Warp's Edge, like Jeremy, you said it well. It does everything it means to do in just the right way. Like, I'm not saying it's the best game for a worker placement lover. I'm not saying it's like the top game for like, you know, someone who wants to like play a dungeon crawl. But for what it is a beautiful, tense, like, it is so much fun. Like, that's like, if nothing else, I put this game on the table, I'm going to have a blast for 30 minutes. And then if I play it again, like right away, like not even taking a break, I'm going to have another blast for 30 minutes. And it's going to be a different blast than the first one. Like, yeah. I mean, I didn't even love Coffee Roaster that much, but like it ceased to exist. Like, it ground itself up like in the coffee grinder, you know, and it was just like roasted and gone.
That was beautiful. That's beautiful.
I like Warp's Edge.
It's overcooked. It's overbrewed.
Yeah.
No, you know what?
Warp's Edge is like 1.5. Root is number 1 if I'm allowed to include it, but we'll say Warp's Edge.
but you know, I just furthermore on that one, like, it's that one thing. Like, I don't like when people say for what it is, but man, like, this one is the one. Like, it just works. I don't know. Interesting, man. That game is really, really. It's just a great game. Just a great. I hope they get expansions for it this year.
I hope
somehow, man. I hope they get expansions.
Because like the thing is, I know you know, the first solo series one. What was it? The little arena one. Proving Grounds.
There we go.
Yeah, like that didn't get expanded, but I think that's also not as good of a game. Right. Like, it's good, it's fun. But Warp's Edge, like, you make 8 expansions for that, I'll buy every single one for like the next like forever, you know?
Yeah. It's just a great design. I'm just so glad that everybody's kind of on board with it. And you know what's interesting is people who are not solo people love this game. That's actually a really good sign. You know,
I made a 2-player variant that I haven't put out there yet, but I'll share that at some point. A little 2-player co-op variant. Don't get too excited. It's nothing special. It's not complicated. It's just like one rule basically, and you're good to go.
Oh. So you're just another BGG user with a dream.
Yeah. You know me.
It's like a recipe site. This recipe was great after I added these 5 or 6 things.
I just put a little cinnamon on this.
Well, no, I'm not improving the base game. It's a very simple way to play 2-player, and it works really well. That's all I'm saying. I'll share it once I'm done with it.
All right. Hey, Mark, what you got, man? Number 1.
A game that kind of came out of left field for me a little bit, missed the Kickstarter completely. And then I saw people getting this game, and then I managed to get a copy from a retail store in the UK. And it's not fully out of retail yet, and I've hardly stopped playing the game. It is Dwellings of Elder Vale by Breaking Games, designed by Luke Laurie. There is just so much to love in this game. You know, it's a worker placement game, it's a tile laying game, it's a tableau builder, it's a resource management, there's dice combat in there. It's got something for everybody. You've got monsters that you're fighting on the board, area control, so many things, and it really nails this solo down absolutely fantastically. I played many games now, and you get to a certain point, you think, I'm storming here, and then the end game conditions kick in, and you realize you've lost by a really large margin, but you know where you've made your mistakes. 16 factions to play with, all slightly asymmetrical, so many different monsters that you can bring out on the board. Beautiful production quality with these game trays and just everything about the game. I just absolutely love Dwellings of Eldervale. I think it is a modern classic.
Doesn't seem like my type of game.
No, I don't think you'd like it, Jeremy. No.
I mean, it sounds interesting, but it's not my type of game.
Yeah, I don't.
Hey, shut up, Jeremy.
Yeah, right.
Were you not the one?
Face on the last one.
What's that behind you? Right there, where
Yeah, I was about to say, were you not the one in a video that we did together recently? Show me like little pieces, like making noises with them and crap. Come on now.
Damn, you could have let me try. We could have fooled the chat for a hot second.
I keep telling Mike on Dwellings of Eldervale that and he's not truly a Euro guy and a worker placement guy, but I do think he'll find enough in Dwellings of Eldervale to kind of wet his whistle there.
I think Colin didn't love it, which means I might be able to get, because he did a playthrough on our channel.
Yeah,
I'm able to get his copy. I bet if I swing it that way.
I love Colin's stuff. I mean, he's very wrong here, but I love his stuff.
Colin's a nice guy.
He only wants to play like adventure games. Like he just wants to play board games all day.
Colin is a nice guy. Good playthroughs. His opinion on Dwellings is troubling. I'm gonna give him a needs improvement on that one.
Have you played it, Liz, at all?
Yeah.
I played like one game of it with other people forever ago.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. Like.
All right, we're gonna skip Liz too. Number one. Can we get Mike 2 shut down, Kira? Thank you. Top right.
Cannot be stopped.
Your opinion is less valid.
Keep dreaming.
I know you. I love you. Oh my god, I want to have a beer with you guys so bad. I want to drink.
I know.
So much.
It should have been happening.
I miss you. Oh, I miss you so much. Liz.
All right, so my number one. Y'all are too cool for school on this now, I guess, but I have a true sense of modern classics. And no kidding. No, but so I actually did go with one that I think will stand the test of time and that people are going to keep buying 5 and 10 years from now, and that is Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. I know that everybody feels like, oh yeah, we've already played Gloomhaven, but to me, as somebody who doesn't have all the time in the world, who hates setting up tiles and dealing with a bunch of different tokens, Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion is really kind of what I wish Gloomhaven were. I kind of wish that original Gloomhaven was like a couple of box releases, so you could buy box 1 that's this manageable size, and then buy box 2, something that's a little bit more digestible. I think in terms of the tutorial and the scenario book, it did things that will change, hopefully, the way that future big box games are done. Because now that these ideas are in the ecosystem, hopefully that ability will continue. And I also think, we're talking about, everybody likes to think about new mechanisms. We love the new hotness. But really, really, think about all the games that are higher up on your list. Would you trade Gloomhaven's existence for any of them?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just, I totally agree. I love that card game. Like, I love it. And it doesn't get boring to me. I mean, you could play it a lot at once, but like, damn, it's great. Each character presents that new puzzle.
That will stand the test of time, that came out this year, that people will still be talking about in 5 years, in 10 years, that new gamers that will still be recommending a game from this era of our lives. Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion is probably the one that's the most likely to be it.
I will tell you, for people who are going to back Frosthaven, there are some. I mean, you can call them decks, right? These characters, you can just call them decks. There are some characters that I even had in the prototype where I was like, holy, you are going to have some different stuff going on in this one, and you're going to have some of the things that were in Jaws of the Lion that are not just like kill everything in the room, game over, Right. So that was one thing I really want to emphasize with Jaws of the Lion that I talked about before. There's not just like this, kind of like kill everything, you win, grab a couple chests, you win. So that was definitely worth mentioning. Yeah. My number one, once again, hate to be a one-upper. Dwellings of Eldervale. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dwellers of Eldervale. I knew this. I still have the prototype. It's one of the games. So that one, Honey Buzz, and Warp's Edge are 3 games that I still have the prototypes of, and Dice Throne Adventures, which is, man, let me tell y'all, like, it would have been number 1.
I was about to say, man, I've been playing that.
It would have been number 1. Trust
that is
me.
Some great.
Trust me. Far and away. And that's, I mean, like, Dwellings is a great game. But I know that Dice Throne is going to be man, it's so great. But anyway, this is Dwellings' turn because it is a great design. It's so fun. It's got so many things in there that you would think this game would be a disaster, honestly.
Yeah.
And it works really well. And maybe because the solo does have some randomness in how it goes about and doesn't make optimal decisions all the time, people will not, be feeling it. I understand that. They may have to make adjustments to the AI eventually. But this is just the system that they created with this AI is just so fun to play.
Yeah.
It's easy to play, and I like it. It's aggressive. Like I said, it doesn't make optimal decisions all the time, but that is how AI works most of the time. You find out the hole, you expose it, right?
Yeah.
You try to expose your opponents, and man, this game is just so damn good. I mean, like, the monsters are fun to weave in there. You just have so much to do and so many ways to do it. The tiles roll out different every time. It's just so hard to recommend a game and love a game so much. And people ask you, what game should I buy? What game should I buy? Here, go ahead and buy a $159 game, right?
Yeah.
And that's difficult. There's a lot of that this year. A lot of the games that deliver are big games from the last 2 years that were on Kickstarter, and they're big games that are a lot of money in a time where people are hemorrhaging money. But if you were to put your money into a game, and it's unfortunate there's not like scenarios in this game, but there could be. And I did talk to the designer on a podcast recently, and he did say he has 6 expansions in the works.
Wow.
Because this is not like a out of the woodwork thing either. This is a 7-year design, by the way.
Yeah.
7-year design.
Tell.
So it's not like if you listen to them tell the story about it, like, it literally was down to the last time that the developer even wanted to hear about it. They had been thinking about it that long. And so like, this game is just like Everdell. Like, the designer pretty much had been working on this forever, so he already had the designs kind of figured out, and this is that game. Just absolutely gorgeous. The monsters are ridiculous, and they should not have standees with noises on them, but they do, and it's great because I'm a big child. I mean, come on, man! Like, that's not needed. It's not, but it is. And of course, as a solo player, I have them on, and I'm like, that's me. I don't know. It's me. That's my journey. But yeah, it's just a great way to round out the year, and it came out at the end of the year. I'm so glad people got to play it this year. And that's our top 10, guys.
Wow. Woo, we did it.
Woo, go.
Did it. I wanted to just I actually thought about a couple more games on here. I just wanted to mention that were really good. I'm just going to run off this list. Dune is not on here. Dune was a really good game. That's a great I think it's great multiplayer. But as a solo game, I just found that there was too much randomness in the deck. It kind of sneaks up on you. The combat sneaks up on you. It's okay. And you can win without fighting a lot. But most of the time, you're going to have to prepare for that conflict. I'm not sure everybody's going to like the conflict. But with expansions, it might get better. It's not a deck builder like it should be, because you should be able to wipe the deck and get a lot of cards. You don't. So that was kind of a bummer for me, but I like it. I talked about Honey Buzz. Bonfire was my first Feld game that I really loved. It just did not make my top 10. These other games are just stronger, but it is a very solid one. I do have a playthrough for the channel. Hall of the Mountain King was awesome. That game is so underrated. Got to check that one out. We did not talk about the Spirit Island Jagged Earth expansion. Okay. I didn't play it. I didn't get the chance to play mine yet, but I know you like that one too, Mike, right?
Oh yeah. Again, I didn't include expansions, but that's like another one of my top games of all time. And Jagged Earth has this like How many spirits do I need?
Yeah.
All of them. Every
All of
spirit
them?
you could ever play with.
I just
There you
bought
go.
that big case that they have at not E-Raptor, I think, but yeah, I bought it. It fits everything, and I cannot wait. I just was like, oh, I bought all the promos when they had the sale. I was like so pumped about that. Calico, which is really good. I mean, I actually think Calico is one of those games that'll stand the test of time just as a whole. Like it'll just be in people's collection. But it's a really good solo game. I mean, it is a head scratcher. Really thinky. And then we have Roman Roll, which is a heavy roll and write, but it's like a heavy eraser board roll and write.
I've been wanting to try that.
Yeah, you would definitely like. That's a Turtsy design as well. I talked about Merv, really complex solo mode, but it's got like a little rough on the rules, but it's really fun. And then Forgotten Waters, which I forgot to mention. Oh man, Forgotten.
Although I feel like that's kind of sad to play by yourself. You know what I mean?
It is
like,
kind of sad.
Like listening to like an audiobook, you know?
And that's it. I think when you play solo, it's an experience. It's less a game and more of an experience when you play solo. And there's nothing wrong with it because it tells a really fun story. But I have played it with kind of 4 or 5 other people, had a blast, kind of all the interaction you get. Solo, it's a choose your own adventure book, but it's a fun one.
Well, it's like when I'm like filling out my character for like the Mad Libs, and it's like, oh, write the name of one of the other players, and I'm like,
what's your middle name?
Yeah, that's my middle name.
Your imaginary friends, Michael. Yeah.
Oh, Mike.
Jeremy, can I throw in a?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mention I forgot. So again, I wasn't doing expansions, but man, this game has every time I play it, it's going higher and higher up my list, and this is one I don't think most people have heard about. I don't know if any of y'all have played it. Heroes of Tennefer, which is this like little solo co-op deck builder, like kind of dungeon crawly little thing. That game is better and better. Like it fired Aeon's End for me. Like what? It fired Aeon's End? Yes. Like Aeon's End is gone.
Man. Hey, you know what? This is getting ridiculous. What is this going on? What is this, amateur hour? Is this amateur hour?
I'm sorry. But Aeon's End, like,
hold on, man. Mike, stop, man. Stop.
Mike, I know teaching's been really hard this year, man. But
this has been a really trying year for you. I know, teaching and stuff.
I was never on Aeon's End anyway, so that's just like symptoms of that.
Oh.
But the expansion that came out this year, Second Curse, I think it's called. Oh my gosh, man! Like so much character variety. They got so many different modes to play now. Like the deck building is it's just I love this game. Yeah. It's like this push your luck mixed with deck building, and it is fun as heck all the time. True solo works hot, like it is great, and then multiplayer is great too. I've been playing this a lot on TTS with like people on our Discord and stuff. Every person I play it with loves it. Every person has gone out and bought it afterwards. Like it's consistent as heck, man. I love this game.
Yeah. Right. I can mention one that I was going to put on my list, and then Mike told me I couldn't put it on my list because it was strictly a 2019 game. However, I did get it in the Kickstarter reprint, 2nd edition Pax Pamir, which I only got this year from on the back end of the Kickstarter for the reprint. What Richard Wilkins did with that solo design for the Wakan is just a thing of beauty. Yeah. It's an absolutely stunning game, and I didn't think it would really be my kind of game, kind of area control, dudes on a map almost, engine building. It's just beautiful, and it provides a really, really good challenge, and I'm hoping they're going to do a subsequent reprint as well, because I think the solo community needs to hear more about Pax Pamir 2nd edition, because it's just fantastic. A wonderful, wonderful game.
Go ahead. Mike in the comments is killing me right now. He said Murph sounds like perv, and you're so childish, Mike. I love you. And he said next time, he said Mike is going to probably go into I don't like Mage Knight, and he's going to get his mic cut. Which is true.
Okay.
No.
I sold my copy of Mage Knight, if that means I get fired from the show.
Hold on, and you are selling your copy of Kingdom Death Monster as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm getting rid of Kingdom Death Monster. I don't have enough time for that.
Right, just cut the feed now. Cut the feed now.
You know what? He's gone rogue. He has gone rogue. Like, what is up with you, man? Are you taking your vitamins, sir?
Hey, Jeremy Howard. Solo players are not a monolith, man. We got it.
You're right.
Man,
You're not one of them now. You're not one of them.
Hand your card back. Hand your card back. Yeah.
Have you played this Moonrakers? I have this right here. I'm sorry, we're going off into a random conversation. Moonrakers came out. I know that was a thing. I just received a copy, so I got to check this one out too. I could go on and on. We can go on about some of these games because it was a good year for solo gaming. It was actually a great year because a lot of these things
got cool now.
Mm-hmm. I know. So I just want to make sure we could put some things out there. I want to kind of give you some information about some groups that you can follow. You got Board Games for One, solo board gamers. You have and just a lot of other groups that are welcoming. BGG, Dice Tower, Spotlight, BGR, all these different groups that you can join to kind of find out more. And then we have our solo group in BGG as well. So you can find those as well to find a home. And along the way, maybe you can play some of those games that are out in Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia that are solo playable. There's actually quite a few. So I always tell people, like, maybe take the time, 5 minutes to learn it, and then get in there and try some of these games. But I also want to make sure you plug your stuff. Mark, what you got?
So, Not Board Gaming is a YouTube-based channel. It's purely focusing on solo and soloable board games. It's been going about August 2019, so coming up to kind of 14 months now. Tend to be long form, kind of in depth, either reviews, previews of games. So I will always do a final thoughts at the end, but they aren't 15 minutes. They're anywhere between 40 and 60 minute stuff. Yes. So please check out the channel. It's growing all the time. It's great to have all the support from people like Jeremy and Liz and Mike and Will and some of the publishers. I'm thoroughly enjoying this and love being part of the solo community. Hope to speak to a lot of you in the coming months and years.
Liz, oh man, Liz, we go back.
We do.
We go back to when I was a bad blogger. And you were kind to me. And you didn't tell me I sucked at it.
You didn't.
I did. You would have wrote a whole different review if you edited mine.
I like my reviews English tight.
Speak English. Anyway, all right, Liz, go right ahead.
All right, where am I not these days? So you can see me on the Dice Tower, but follow me because I was at 6,999 subscribers on YouTube before I started this chat. It's killing me. So my gaming channel is called Beyond Solitaire. I'm Beyond Solitaire everywhere. I answer tweets and I answer messages on Board Game Geek and all of that. I have a podcast also called Beyond Solitaire for brand consistency. It's my least popular, but my favorite thing that I do. I interview a lot of I've got like a bunch of interviews with professional war gamers recently, people who write articles about board games who are like professors. I'm always just looking for interesting people to talk to. And then if you like to read, I actually just started a channel called Beyond Solitaire Books because I'm just like that. But yeah, Beyond Solitaire everywhere. Join me. I love interacting with strangers online.
You got koozies too for your beers. Like, what else do you have?
I should do it.
I got these pens. I got mugs. I got Beyond Solitaire masks. I got all. I don't know.
Liz,
it's gonna be a big year for me, 2021. I don't know.
I know you said you're part of Dice Tower, but I really think that Dice Tower is now part of Beyond Solitaire. Yeah. I think that's the way it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't tell Tom, man.
I know. She definitely brings a different vibe and different catalog to the fray, which is what I love. Mike.
Yeah, so I'm part of a whole team at the One Stop Co-op Shop. Me and Colin do playthroughs on our YouTube channel. I do really quick reviews, 5-minute reviews. We got Steve and Peter handling podcasts, doing Twitch streams and stuff now. Jason Perez, formerly of Every Night is Game Night, joined us recently. He's doing podcasts and some playthroughs as well. So yeah, if you want to see playthroughs, we only do solo and co-op. Don't touch competitive in any fashion. Which certainly limits us sometimes, but we get some cool stuff. So yeah, check us out, One Stop Co-op Shop.
And if this is your first time seeing me, or haven't seen me before, you maybe see me visit a lot of different places. But my name is Jeremy Howard. I make content here for Man vs. Meeple. Although I will be covering other games that are not solo and co-op, I do basically cover solo and cooperative games for the channel. I have Solo Sundays, which used to be on our Facebook page. It will now be moving over to our YouTube page. Same bad time, same channel. So that you guys we can have it to a bigger audience and more content that you guys want to see. I got some big games lined up. I'm really excited. My playthroughs will be followed by reviews live, so you can get some Q&A as well if you have any questions about the games. So yeah, I hope that you join me, man. We're gonna be putting my foot into 2021, man. So it's just exciting. It's exciting that you people care. And thank you so much for showing up to this event. This is our first one, and I'm just, man, it was great. We almost had like 250 people. It's crazy. It's crazy in here.
Fantastic.
So yeah. All right, y'all. So that's our first top 10 of 2020. First on here, Man vs. Meeple. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, and my guest as well for joining us. And I think that's it. Kira, can you cut everybody else except for me? No, I'm just kidding. See you in 2021, guys. Take care.